guys, Chris here. Hey, I wanted to do a deep dive into emotions in art. To me, that's very, very important. Art is a communication. It's a communication which must flow in many directions, right? And I've always heard and read, and this is probably very true because I got it from a good source. Ellie Milan tells us this all the time on art that sells, you know? And art that sells is uplifting art. It's stuff that people want to see in their house. They want to come out, get their coffee, and go, oh, look at that. I bought a cupcake, a cupcake painting from one of my friends on Instagram. I saw it, just made me so happy. And I bought it and I put it out in my living room because I come out, I see that cupcake and I'm like, yeah, life is good. So that is legit. People do want to buy that kind of art. But do we only paint for people who want to buy it? No, we have to paint as communication. Paint, draw, sketch, crayons. I don't even care. You have to be, as an artist, as able to paint or draw the most intense negative emotions as much as you need to be able to draw, paint, do whatever, the most intense positive emotions. It's like music, right? You want to hear nice, fun, wonderful music, but life gets pretty dull if all you hear is, bubblegum pop all the time. You want some Beethoven in there in the mix. You want some of that intense emotion that makes you, it just runs you up and down the emotional tone scale. That's Beethoven. That's what he does. And I don't see why painting and coloring and drawing and all those things should be any different. It's all communication and it needs to flow. If you stop a certain portion of the flow of your communication, you're going to stop the flow of your communication. You cannot do that. It is highly suggested that you don't do that because pretty soon, you'll only be able to do one thing. And it's just, life is not that way. We reflect life, but we also create life. And you can do paintings that are intense, that are not fun to confront, but they can have a little bit of hope in them. And that might be something as well. In addition, you may not be painting for the multitude. You might be painting for that one guy that has this one feeling that he can't explain, he can't iterate for whatever reason. And he sees your painting and he goes, oh my God, somebody in this vast universe gets me. You know what? I'd rather have that than to sell 1 million paintings because that's what we're here for. So anyway, I wanted to go over emotions in paintings and how to evoke them in your paintings, your compositions, and that kind of thing. First, we're going to focus on the mechanics. Obviously you've got figures and things like that and how they're posed and how they're lit and how they're, doing various different things. We're going to just ignore all of that. Just look at the colors, the edges, that kind of thing that really evokes these emotions so that when you paint, you can look at those. So the first one I want to look at is joy. With joy, you generally have a warm palette, high saturation, soft edges, golden side light, and upward brush strokes, which I thought was interesting. Upward, out, look, your attention is upward, it's out. You're in the emotion of joy. And I have found these beautiful photographs on Pixabay. These are by Jill Wellington, this little one with this little girl picking flowers. I mean, to me, that evokes joy. It evokes a lot of emotions, joy, nostalgia. You can almost smell the flowers in the grass and you can feel the warmth of the sun on your face. It's just very, very nice. And it does have all of those elements in it. It's a warm palette, a lot of yellows, a little bit of orange. And high saturation in some areas, definitely. Soft edges, yes, the edges are purposely very, very soft, actually blurred in the background there. Golden side light, yes, you can feel that. And upward brush strokes, well, I could see if you painted this and you're painting things and you did upward brush strokes like in the background, kind of going up and out, you could make a beautiful painting with that subject. And even the flowers are going up and out, which is really cool. And she's pulling it up and out. So that's actually a very, very nice depiction. There's another depiction of joy here, which I really like. Another Jill Wellington, the same palette, the same upward, outward, the figure is obviously very joyful. And golden side light, soft edges, all of those things are included. So those are two really nice pictures. Again, I found them on Pixabay. Jill Wellington is the person who uploaded them. I don't know if she's the person who took them, but you know, I'm going to give her credit because she uploaded them. And that's all the data I have on those. Sadness. Okay, cool blues. Let's take a look at this one here. This is something by Vika Glitter. I don't know if Vika Glitter is the artist or just the person who photographed this art. I don't know. In any case, it's a beautiful depiction of sadness. You've got cool blues, you've got grays, you've got low contrast, lost edges. Look at the edges on that. They're sort of fading off into the background. Empty negative space, which I thought was interesting. You know, you think about the edges and things like that, but the empty negative space, yeah, it just gives you this feeling of loneliness and sadness that really is undeniable. And when you look at this painting or a photograph or whatever it is, you definitely get the sadness in it. Now, anger. Let's look at my tiger. The tiger comes from a place where, you know, as super savvy travelers, my other incarnation right here and now, I have a brand that I have to protect. And I was under vicious attack, which I'm going to write a book about it because to me, it defies anything I've ever seen before. And anybody that's been involved with it just can't believe it. But because of my brand, because I can't go out there and just curse at people, you know, on social media or in life, although at one point I did, you know, and I'm glad I did, but I can't be doing that, right? Somebody puts it on TikTok and my brand is ended. So I said, okay, I was just so angry because it was so unjustified and so mean and so sadistic. And I said, I'm going to paint this thing. So I took out a canvas, big canvas. Well, not a big, this one wasn't big. The other bigger one came later. And I took red, orange, black palette. Somehow I just knew that was going to evoke, you know, the emotions I was thinking. And I painted this angry background with the red, the black, the yellow, you know, swirling, chaotic sort of background, which I actually really like the background on this. I think it's really, it did exactly what I needed it to do. High contrast. I painted the nastiest, most vicious tiger. He's going to go rip somebody's lungs out. And I wish I had a tiger like that. I'd go, okay, over there, go get him. And, you know, fierce and angry and super high contrast. The edges are hard and, you know, that kind of thing. And you really can tell by looking at this painting that somebody was having a bad day. And it was me, and I was. Now, if you look further, it talks about diagonal composition. And there is a diagonal composition going from the tiger to the sphere. The sphere is life energy. And life energy is basically what we all are. And communication is a big part of that life energy. We give and take life energy through communication. And we flow it back and forth between each other. That's what makes communication so intensely beautiful. But the diagonal composition of the tiger and the spiritual energy is also an anger sort of thing, which I didn't realize at the time. I just did it, like inherently I knew. And then after a little while, I calmed down after the big epiphany that I had that, oh my gosh, I really can communicate emotions. I put in those little doves to kind of soften it a little. It's a pretty intense painting if you look at it. So the doves kind of take the edge off a little bit, but definitely it's an angry painting. Now let's look at fear. You've got cool blues, sickly greens, crowded space, and underlighting. Okay, so in this picture here, it's a photograph, I think, you've got your cool blues, definitely cool blues. I would say even sickly blues. You've got underlighting, you know, remember when you were a kid and you were in the camp, around a campfire and you put the light underneath your face and you told a horror story and you scared the living daylights out of everybody in the campsite. Nobody slept after that. I mean, come on, every noise. Anyway, yeah, underlighting, very important. Sickly greens and crowded spaces. Look at this one here. This is really an interesting picture because it shows a crowded space. There's this city behind her or him. I don't know who that is. They're trying to get out. They want space. They feel closed in. And the sickly greens are a huge part of it. Now, you know, are they sickly? I don't know. I don't know what a sickly green is. I do know that at one point I moved into a house that had the walls, the green, hospital green walls. To me, that's sickly green. And some of that is in this particular picture. But yeah, so you can use stuff like that. The feeling of crowdedness, the feeling of, yeah, I got to get out of here, you know, that kind of thing. It evokes fear. And even though, you know, so many times you type into the Pixabay bar and you go fear and it's somebody going, that's fine, that's fearful. But look at that. It doesn't scream fear, but it evokes fear. I love that. Okay, let's look at love. You know who I love, and who does this so beautifully is Demetra Milan. Oh my goodness. She does the most amazing love and peace and all of these things. This is not one of hers. This is a photograph that I got off of Pixabay, but it has all the elements here. It has warm pinks, peaches, soft blending, gentle curves, diffused light, and an intimate crop. And when you look at it, it does. It has the diffused light, it has the soft lighting, it has the really soft edges, and the intimate crop makes you feel like you're the next person coming up and to stand in that circle with these ladies who obviously love each other and they're in super good communication. And it's just a really, really great photo from that aspect of having all the elements of love in it. And it's very interesting. Pixabay, when you type these in, they give you these things and you go, oh, is that love? Well, I feel love when I see it, but what makes it love? That's what makes it love. It's very cool. All right, next is loneliness. Look at this lonely tree out there. It just breaks your heart, the poor thing all on its own. Not even leaves to keep the company. So loneliness, muted grays, vast empty space. Look at all that space, okay? Tiny figure, cool temperatures, low saturation. The temperatures, it's a bit warm. I mean, there's a little coolness in some areas, but I would overall say it's kind of warm. So maybe that gives you a sense of hope in addition to the loneliness. There's no reason that you can't mix these emotions in these paintings. And you've got the big space, you've got the smaller figure there, but you have the warmth, okay? So you got this feeling of loneliness, but a feeling of, you know, maybe it's going to be okay. You know, what about mixing these things? I think it's brilliant. I actually really love this picture now because I just realized that the photographer not only evoked the loneliness of the tree on its own, but it also evoked some golden light and some warmth, which is beautiful. Unlike this one, I mean, I'm not saying that's not a beautiful picture. It can be, but look at this poor guy. He's just floating in space. You can't even see the horizon. You can sort of see that there's water there because there is a reflection of the dock and this little stick sticking up. You can't see the horizon. It's endless, endless space. And this one little tiny guy sitting out there wondering what the heck he's doing here and what is his purpose here on Earth. It's quite the evocative statement there. So there's your tiny figure. The other one wasn't super tiny. What would have made it really, really, the tree one, really more evocative of loneliness would be if it had a teeny tiny little animal or person down there, unless they're going, woo, you know, in which case that changes the whole vibe. Anyway, yeah, so that's loneliness. And boy, oh boy, you can feel lonely looking at that. Now, peace. Let's look at that. Now, this one came up when I typed peace in the bar in Pixabay. And it has the elements of peace. Okay, so the elements are soft, analogous greens and blues. Yes, they're greens and blues. A little bit of warmth in that one corner over there. And that's fine. Low contrast. Oh, yeah. Horizontal lines. Look at that, guys. Horizontal lines. She's sitting on a little hill. It's more or less horizontal. Of course, it's a hill, so it goes up and down. But in the back, there's horizontal lines going back and forth, you know, showing the line of the trees and whatnot. Her legs are even in a horizontal line. So that really is evocative of peace. Now, for me, peace is a much more complex emotion. It's not just being left alone. It's being filled with a sense of well-being. It's filled with a sense of color and life and that sort of thing. You know, this does have the elements and there's no denying that. But to me, peace would have a little bit more hope in it. This actually looks lonely to me. But anyway, that's just my opinion on that. So those are some ideas on how to incorporate these into your palette so that you know, can start thinking in those terms and create on them. as I said, you can mix, you know, joy and loneliness. You know, you can put hope into a painting, like I did with my tiger and the doves and whatnot. You know, and you can find ways of doing it. You could add a little menacing thing in the corner of the little girl with the flowers. You know, maybe a tiger. You know, just play with it. Play with it. Nothing's off limits in arts, guys. Nothing's off limits. You should be able to paint or draw or sketch any emotion on the emotional tone scale. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little downloadable PDF, which you can get if you email me, and I'll send it to you. My email address will be down below, and I'm going to flash it on the screen here so you know what it is. And you can just email me and say, please send me the PDF, and I will. So there you go, guys. I want to see your paintings. Go paint something and then put it in the comments or send it to me, and I'll put it up and show everybody if you want to, because it's a very cool concept, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. Thanks, guys. See you soon.